Matthew chapter 10, verses 5 to 15. Jesus sends the 12. The number that we are featuring in this section is number 2784, proclaim. And we are going to feature nouns in this section. Today is what's called Easter Sunday here in the United States, 2024. Christos Anasti. Christ has risen, is what the Greeks say. He has risen indeed, is the refrain. Christos Anasti, Christ has risen. He has risen indeed. This is why we are here. If Christ didn't rise, then it wouldn't be any different than anybody else that has lived. But his rising from the dead is a way different thing than anybody else has ever claimed. And we are following him. It begins, and so are these 12. It begins in verse 5. Tutos, these, tus dodeka, the 12, apestilin oisus, parangilas aftis, Jesus sent exhorting them, legon, saying, is odon ethnon me apelthite, unto the way of the nations you should not go, ke is polin samariton me iselthite, and a city of the Samaritans you should not enter. So Jesus has given these men authority to heal and to cast out demons, but now he's giving them restrictions. They can't go unto the way of the nations, which the King James calls Gentiles, which I hate. Ethnon, we have the word ethnic, comes from that. It says in the Bible that Paul does, I believe, the time of the nations will come to an end, which I believe that we are in right now. The nations are no longer going to rule over Israel. Ethnon, not the Gentiles, the nations of the world. I figure the way of the nations is unto the people of the nations. The way is a figure of speech. You should not go forth unto these people that are not Jews, basically, and unto a city of Samaritans you should not enter. The Samaritans were a people that were displaced by Sennacherib, the king, who took many of them into Israel, the northern kingdom, and then he took the people from the northern kingdom and spread them other places in his jurisdiction. These people that then came to Israel took up the tenets of the Jewish ways and merged with them in many ways. But they became at odds with the Jews, especially with the Jews that returned from Babylon, and this is shown in the book of Nehemiah. In verse 6, now this is where the title used to be, we moved it up. But verse 6 it says, Porev they malon pros ta provata ta apololota iku Israel. But you go rather to the sheep, and I changed this a little bit, the ones being lost of the house of Israel. Now now the nouns. Now I'm just going to point them out. We'll go through a little bit and differentiate the different declensions of the nouns. Away is one of the first noun here, then nations. Generally, it's called a noun, a people, place, or things in English grammar. But in Greek, they're declined between the nominative, genitive, dative, and accusative, singular, and plural. So whenever a word is declined in that manner, then it is a noun. The structure of the word makes it a noun. Some words may sound like nouns, but they could be adjectives, other things. And then we have here sheep are nouns. And then house of Israel. And then in verse 7 it continues, Porevomeni they kirisete, proclaim, but going, proclaim. Proclaim. Kirisete, we have the kirigama. That is a word that's used in seminaries for learning how to preach. But here, to proclaim, basically in public to somebody out loud. Generally, that's how you do this kirisete. This is how you proclaim. Now, what is that? What are they proclaiming? It says, legonta, saying, oti igikan e vasilia ton uranon, that the kingdom of the heavens approaches. A kingdom is a noun. And the heaven is a noun. This is plural. So the kingdom of the heaven approaches. The king is actually approaching in the form of Jesus Christ, who will reign eternally, everlasting, aeonially, on his throne with all of his subjects, which hopefully you and I will be. Verse 8. Asthenuntas therapevete. One's being weak, cure. Now you would think one's being weak would be a noun, but it's not. It's a verb, to be weak. And being is a participle with the ing. One's I added because it's plural. So it's a verb, a cure verb. Necrus, dead ones. Now you'd say, well, now the dead ones there, that's a noun. No, it's a dead man or a dead woman. I added the ones there as adjective, and it's called a noun substantive. It stands as a noun. Sounds like a noun, but it's really not. It's an adjective. Dead ones, agirete, rise up. Now, I've seen a lot of TV preachers, healers, and so forth, calling people that are supposedly blind and lame and everything. But I've never seen one raise somebody up from the dead. And that would be something to see. So you can use trickery in different ways, but rising somebody from the dead would be pretty difficult. And then lepros, cleanse, you would think a noun, but no, it's another adjective, noun substantive. That means it's a leprous man. It's an adjective, a leprous man or a woman, but it stands by itself, leprous, so it's a noun. Substantive, the substantive is it stands by itself. Cleanse, lepers. Daemonia ekvalete, demons cast out. Dorian elavete, dorian thote. Freely you received and freely you give. And that's an interesting thing he's saying right here. Now, who is the you, the recipient or the giver? Freely you receive, freely you give. He could be talking about people that have received something from God. It could be the disciples here or the recipient. So you are to give freely. And this is what the disciples are doing and what the recipient is to do. And we are recipients of God's grace. So we are to do it freely, not for money, which is going to be the opposite here of what God says with many so-called TV preachers asking for money all the time. Me, kitisis the chrison, you should not acquire gold, That's underlined. That's a noun. Me they argyron, nor silver, another noun. Me they halcon, nor brass coin. And this is a noun. Now, it's not a adjective, like a brass coin, which sounds like an adjective, but a halcon is a piece of brass, but it's a coin. You could put coin. You should not acquire gold nor silver nor coin, but then you miss the halcon that's brass, so a brass coin. In your zonas imon, istazonas imon, in your belts. And as a belt, a zone, we have a zone, the different zones of climate go around the world. It's like a belt, a zone. So you're not to take any money in your belts or a balantion, which is a bag for money. I think Judas was carrying the money for giving out to different people. Verse 10, me piran is odon, nor a provision bag for the way. The provision bag is a type of a purse, something that would hold your things like a backpack for the way to the people. Me they theo hitonas, nor two inner garments. Now here that very sparse, very limited, but yet I see people on the TV and wearing beautiful clothes and flowing robes and big, huge crosses and all this stuff. Wow, they must not have read 10:10 of Matthew. Nor hypodhemata, sandals, me they rabdus, nor rods. Now these are all nouns. The provision bag, a way, an inner garment, a sandal, and a rod. Now you can look in our book, Analytical Lexicon, and it would tell you more about each one of these words. If it was a masculine, feminine, neuter, if it was a subject of the sentence, or if it was a genitive of the possessive of the person's possession, or if it was an indirect object, something going to him, or the object of the sentence. The man went to the store. Store would be the object. And we'll go through that a little bit later. Right here, we're just pointing out all the different nouns. And now each noun has additional information, a lot. So these are all the nouns. And it continues, axios gar o ergatis, tis trophis avtu estin. For the worker is worthy of his provision. And again, the provision would be backpack type of a item that carries all of these other things, not the money. That's called a volantion in Greek. The worker, for the worker, ergonomics comes from that word ergatis. Ergonomics appears 16 times in the New Testament only. And we see about workers in Matthew 20, verse 1, a master of a house who came forth at the same time in the morning to hire workers for his vineyard. So they're going to get paid by this master of the house. This is what it goes into in that story. So a worker is worthy of his provision for what he has, things that he has, clothes and shoes and everything, and the food that he's going to be given by the people of the places that he goes to. Luke 10:7, it says, for the worker is worthy of his wage. Here it says, for the worker is worthy of his provision, but Luke says a wage. So it could be both. And then in 2 Timothy 2:15, Paul says, hurry to present yourselves unadulterated to God, a worker unashamed, cutting straight the word of truth, and taking the word of truth to other people. Then we see evil workers, workers of iniquity, they're called in Luke 13:27. 2 Corinthians 11:13, Paul says, for such ones are false prophets, deceitful workers, changing appearance into apostles of Christ. So you see these certain apostles. Somebody says he's an apostle. Again, you have to look at what they are doing. What kind of work are they doing, and what is the result of the work that they are doing or have done? In Philippians 3:2, Paul says, take heed of the dogs. Take heed of the evil workers. Take heed to the circumcisers. And that was the Jews, the ones that wanted these early Christians to become more Jewish-like. Later, wanting the Gentiles, what they call the Gentiles, the people of the nations, to be Jewish-like. They're called the circumcisers. And these we're told, are workers, evil workers, and to take heed from them. Verse 11, is in theon polin ecomi eselthite, into whatever city or town you should enter, cities, noun, town, exetasite tis, enafti axios esti. Inquire diligently who in it is worthy. What is being worthy? So they're to find out who it is that's worthy. Revelations says 5:12, worthy is the Lamb, having been slain to receive power and riches and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and blessing. Really a beautiful verse that is used in Handel's Messiah. Revelations 5:4, it says, and I wept much, for no one worthy was found to open and to read the scroll, nor to look at it. And then in 5:9, it says, worthy are you to take the scroll and to open its seals. Now it would have been the Lamb, Jesus. And then earlier in Revelations 3:4, it says, and they shall walk with me in white, for they are worthy. And that's the people of Sardis, or the church of Sardis. Now, inquire diligently in it who is worthy. Someone worthy of the things of God. Hopefully we are found to be worthy, accepting the things of God, not rebelling against the things of God. And there it says, kaki minate eos an exalthite, and remain there until whenever you should go forth. So stay in that place, that house, city. Isor homini they istin ikion, and then entering into the house, which is a noun, aspasas they aftin, greet it. Now, you can't greet a house. House doesn't say anything, but this is a figure of speech for the people that are in it. Verse 13, ke eon men ikia axia, and if indeed the house might be worthy, again the house, figure of speech for the people in it, if it's worthy, the whole, eltheto irini imon ep aftin, let your peace come upon it. Now, what peace do I have? Well, I believe I have the peace of Jesus. In John 14:27, Jesus says, peace, Irene, I leave with you. My peace I give to you, not as the world gives, give I to you. The peace of the world is like when there's a war and the war stops and you have peace, there's no more fighting. But that's not a real peace. You can have all sorts of turmoil without the war going on. But the peace of Christ is way more peaceful than the peace of the world. The peace of Christ is what's inside of us that keeps us from becoming overly agitated or upset or angry and all the bad things, the negative things that can happen. We just like the peace that Christ would have us to have is to put our belief and trust, more the trust upon Him that He is going to carry us through the tough times. And this peace other people can have, he's saying. And this is what we are to show the people, whoever Christ brings in our way. I believe anybody that comes in our way is an appointment from God. And everybody should hear the things about God. And it continues, Ean they me, e axia, but if it, the house, might not be worthy, or the people, e irini imon pros imas epistraphito, let your peace return to you. In verse 4, ke os ean me dexite imas, and whoever should not receive you, mi they akusi tus logus imon, nor hear your words, and words is a noun, exerhomini tis ikias, tis polios akinis, and going forth from the residence or that city, and those are both nouns, and you're going forth from that place, a house, or that city, ek tinaxate ton koniorton ton podon imon. Shake off the dust of your feet. Shoes, just shake them off. Show them that this is it. I did what I was to do, and I'm cleaning myself from your presence. Verse 15, Amen, lego imin, Amen, I say to you, and ektoteron, estegi sodomon, ke gomoron, in imera, chryseos iti poli akini. It more endurable will it be to the land of Sodom and Gomorrah, and the land is a noun. And now Sodom and Gomorrah nouns, but we're not using proper names when they have an asterisk, person, place, or thing. More endurable in the day of judgment than to that city. Now, here is another figure of speech. It's the city's not going to be judged. It's going to be the people in the cities that the Word of God has come to and don't want to hear it. It's going to be better for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in that day of the judgment of those people. The people of Sodom and Gomorrah are not going to be held to the judgment, and that's judgment as far as found guilty and having to be punished, than the people in Sodom and Gomorrah. And these cities are the ones that Jesus and disciples go into. Our next section, sheep among wolves.